Maria de la Rosa assists defense teams in developing substantial mitigation in capital cases, expecting to mitigate the sentence to life and preclude the death penalty. Her high-profile cases have included cases such as the state of Arizona versus Jodi Arias. She conducts life history investigation for purpose of developing mitigation themes, compiles evidence and extensive documentation relating to clients' life history and background, including family background, prior personal relationships, educational, medical, employment, and criminal history to obtain information to assist in mitigation. Collaborates with local law enforcement agencies, medical professionals, and educational institutions for needed information, evaluates clients' social and medical histories, psychological evaluations, educational transcripts, and legal documents, interviews interested parties, including detailed and comprehensive interviews of lay witnesses, to assist in the development of expert witness information and formulation of sentencing recommendations. Her education includes a Master of Educational Leadership from Northern Arizona University and a Bachelor of Science in Business Management from the University of Phoenix. Additionally, she is certified as a cognitive facilitator for the Cognitive Intervention Program and is a public notary. She has worked for the Mesa Public Schools as a volunteer and mentor for children at risk and has attended extensive mitigation training all throughout the country and locally. And that's just a snapshot of your resume, Maria. It's very extensive and very extensive and impressive. And thank you so much for joining me today. It's an absolute pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. I guess to start this podcast, Maria, I live in Canada, and in my entire life, we don't even have the death penalty here. So when I introduced you as a capital mitigation specialist, can you please explain what it is that you do?
I assist the legal team, the defense team, in mitigating the sentence of a person who's facing the death penalty. Our team is composed of 4 people. We have 2 attorneys, an investigator, and myself. I am the person who will investigate the social life of the client. I will do interviews, assist with any with the hiring of any experts. I identify the issues that a client may have that might help us mitigate the sentence, such as mental health, substance abuse, physical, sexual, verbal abuse, genetics, alcoholism in the family, dysfunctional backgrounds, which is several. And I also assist the team with the trial part, which is we select the jury that is going to hopefully assist us in mitigating the sentence. And once we have everything together, once our investigation is complete, or my investigation, the mitigation investigation is completed, and if we do end up going to trial, then that information that I collected will be used on the 3rd phase of the case, which is the penalty phase. And in a capital case, there's 3 phases to a case. It's the guilt or innocence, and then the aggravating phase and the mitigation. So if the person is found guilty of 1st-degree murder, it continues. It proceeds to the 2nd phase, which is aggravation. If there's an aggravator and there's a statute in Arizona which give us which aggravators we can use to seek the death penalty, then we will, if an aggravator is found, then we continue to the 3rd phase, which is the mitigation.
Okay, so
and hopefully the information.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead.
I was just going to say that hopefully the information that we collected is strong enough, and it's not an excuse that we're giving to a jury. It's reasons why this person is in front of them this day, facing such a harsh sentence.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And are in the state that you work in, or maybe in all states that have the death penalty, is all first-degree murder charges, are they all capital cases then?
No, no, it depends basically on the prosecutor. The way the statute reads in Arizona, basically any case could be, but I am not sure what criteria they use to decide which one is the penalty and which one is not. All we know is that we get them and the prosecutor says, notice, we intend to seek the death penalty on this case. Usually the statute reads that the death penalty is reserved for the worst of the worst. That should be the criteria, but unfortunately in Arizona, it's not.
Can you speak a little bit more about that? Are there crimes that are death penalty cases that are not murder, for instance?
No, all of them
Okay.
are first-degree murder.
All of them are first-degree murder. Okay.
But yes,
right.
But it depends. It depends on the circumstances if they are noticed as death penalty or not. There's some cases that, in our opinion, as a defense team, we don't feel that this client is the worst of the worst, and that case should go death. Okay. So, but the prosecutor feels that that's the way it should be. Most of the clients I represent, they are not Charles Mason. They are not dumber. You know, they're not that type of person. So we don't understand why the cases are not as death penalty in some instances. Some other cases we can understand, but not in every case.
Thank you for clarifying that. And are mitigators ever required for non-capital cases? Do you ever work on cases that are not death penalty cases as well?
I do, and I have, and I'm currently working on some. There's some cases that will require mitigation because of the sentence that a person may be facing, because of some aggravating circumstances. But in the offices and the public office, the government offices, they have a mitigation person who works exclusively on those type of cases. And the office that I work with, they're limited. So I mostly work on death penalty cases because there's not a lot of us, and because it's costly also. So it's selected the group of cases that we can work on that are not capital. Okay,
that makes so much sense. And I apologize if I'm repeating myself, but is every defendant who is facing a death sentence, they're entitled by law to have the team that comprises such as yourself? So they're entitled to that defense team by law. Is that correct?
Only capital.
Only capital.
Only capital case.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And Maria, your career choice is so fascinating to me, just as I said to you, because we don't have anything like it in my lifetime. I've never seen the death penalty in my country. So how did you become interested in that? And what type of skills and passions does a person need to seek such a career?
I became interested to a friend. When I was a probation officer and I was working through my master's degree, one of my co-workers joined the public defender's office as a mitigation specialist, and she talked to me about the career and her work, and I found it fascinating. And one of the things I always wanted to know is why people kill. So I believe that this job was going to give me the answer because I was getting to know the person really closely. So when my friend talked to me about it, she said, why don't you do it? You'll be great at it. You like this kind of careers and you like this kind of field. So why don't you try it? And I said, you know what? That's a good idea. So we decided that we were gonna join the Office of Public Defense Services and we were gonna apply for a contract. And we got it. Within 2 months, I got assigned to cases and I started working as a mitigation specialist. I had the experience because I have worked in the legal field for so many years.
Right.
And I was familiar with how the statutes work and the courts and all that. But I didn't have the technical experience as a mitigation specialist. What is it that we need to do? So my friend kind of helped me somewhat. And because when I first started working in this field, I have Mexican nationals. The Mexican government assigned me a mentor to help me navigate the system and to learn. And they provided me a lot of training. And my job requires that I take training, so many hours of training every year. So that's how I started. The first year was painful, but then after that, it became a little bit easier as I became familiar with the system.
Oh, okay, and your role, Maria, like it's very interesting to me. So does your role begin at basically when the client is charged right through till sentencing? How long are you with that client from the beginning to the end, and do you stay in contact with them for life even sometimes throughout?
Usually when when the state notices that they're gonna seek the death penalty, that's immediately the attorneys receive notice, and that's what they assemble the team. And that's when they call me to see if I want to take the case and work with them. So that's right away, that's when the process starts. Some of these cases last between 3 to 10 years. It just depends. Sometimes clients change attorney so many times. So every time there's a change in teams, the case starts all over again. Sometimes the mitigation takes a long time because sometimes families do not want to cooperate, or because we cannot find witnesses, or because we have to work with the client through the process. We have to remember that these people who are facing the death penalty are damaged individuals. They don't trust the system, they don't trust people, and I'm a stranger to them. So in order for me to get the information that I need to establish and build that relationship with them. Through the years, we become, I don't want to say friends, but we become close. We have that trusting relationship that we need. And I think I'm very lucky that they trust me and they follow my advice, or they provide me with the information I need. I usually stay with them up until the end, until we get a verdict or until the case settles. Sometimes through the process, we don't have to go to trial. The prosecutor looks at the mitigation, the case, and they offer a plea agreement, and our client, to avoid the death penalty, will take it. Sometimes the charges are reduced to second degree, so sometimes the person will get out someday. Most of my clients, because of that relationship that we have, they stay in contact with me. They text me because they cannot call me, but they text me or they write to me, or every once in a while they'll check in to see how I'm doing, or tell me what they're doing, or good things that happen in their lives. So for the most part, yes, I stay in contact with a lot of my clients.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And that actually brings me to something that I'm very curious about then, in terms of the mitigation of the death penalty itself. Is if you're able to successfully get a sentence from a death sentence to a life in prison sentence, is that more than just saving the client's life? Is it actually an improved quality of life to be serving a life sentence as opposed to being on death row?
Absolutely.
Okay, I was not aware of that. So it's a more of enhanced quality of life. And is it fair to say that if they're serving a life sentence, that also gives the possibility of exploring potential innocence, or future claims, or future evidence that comes to light, is that a part of the mitigation duties as well? I mean, is it just a better quality of life, basically, in the life sentence aspect?
Yes, it's a better quality of life,
Okay,
and basically that's it. Of course, through the process, they can file an appeal and they can file what is called a post-conviction relief.
Mhm.
But those will be the only two avenues, legal avenues that they will have, unless that they have money and they will have to pay to get the case into the federal government. And also for the sentences, I don't know, many people are not aware that when a person gets death, the taxpayers have to spend a lot more money
Mhm.
defending that case
Mhm.
than if a person got life.
Right.
It's cheaper.
Okay, so there's right, because there's a whole other element to that trial. Okay, I understand. And Maria, do you get involved in things where there may be an actual issue of inconsistent evidence questioning this person's innocence, or are you strictly in terms of the sentencing aspect?
Yes, I'm more in the aspect of social lives, gathering the investigation. We have an investigator who assists the attorney into that part of the case.
Okay, okay. And Maria, little side question here. Are you able to, you did mention something about the clients that you take. Are you able to refuse a client if you feel that you just couldn't adequately defend them, or there was a lot of conflict there, you just couldn't represent that client? Can you deny your services to them?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Actually, I have not taken some cases either because I felt that I couldn't help the client at all. Like, no matter what I do, it's not gonna help you.
Right.
Or because there were conflicts. Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, thank you. And I can imagine with these types of cases that would not be uncommon, that the individual would want to change their teams, or there would be those things going on. I could imagine that's not an uncommon issue. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
Okay, thank you. And I really wanted to tie our discussion off with this question, because this is very interesting to me. And regardless of what anyone feels on the death penalty or politics or anything like that, my opinion is that what you do is very brave, and you're putting yourself out there, and you guys are up against the whole state and the police department and the courtroom, the news media. I mean, I can only imagine that you've had personal attacks on yourself, that there has been a tremendous backlash. I know people can be a portion of the work that I do and I study is mass hysterias and things like that. And I can imagine that hasn't always been pleasant for you. Do you get used to that? How do you deal with that and still be professional and do your job? Sorry.
Yeah, I can tell you that I was kind of naive because before I worked on Jodi Arias, everybody was nice to me, was grateful that I was helping their loved ones. I didn't hear anything. People liked me and I thought I was doing a great job. I thought I was accomplishing something. But after Jodi, I discovered how people can be, how mean, how horrible people can be. When I worked on her case, I was daily attacked. I got emails, I have messages, I have Facebook, I have news. It's like people got together and they wanted to lynch me. They wanted to kill me because I was doing my job. And it was so stressful. Thank you. Very traumatic. I was not afraid for myself. I was afraid for my family's safety because people were trying just to get rid of me. They were trying to get me fired. They were sending threats about to my kids. It was just the most horrible experience. And I am lucky that I have a very strong husband, and my family and my friends. They were all backing me up. They were supportive. And I had to detach myself. Once I finished working, I had to detach myself from news, media, Facebook, everything else, and just do something that it was fun and will help me distance myself from it. Sometimes I just have to shut down, go on vacation, get away from the phones, get away from everything so that I can keep going. But what kept me going is that I knew that I had a job to do, and my job was to save this person's life. So we had to do it no matter what, and just have to be strong and don't listen to the noise. Do the job, and you know that in your heart, you know that I knew that I was doing the right thing. So that kept me going.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I'm shedding a couple of tears here. That's really powerful. And I just completely, I can relate for other reasons to that. And you inspire me because, like I said, regardless of what anybody thinks about Jodi Arias or this person or the death penalty, you're doing a job, you're a human being, you're good at what you do, you are competent. And it is so strong to be able to get past that and still keep going. I don't know that many people, after experience something like the Jodi Arias trial, would be able to put themselves out there again and still keep going and still keep doing the job that you're doing. So thank you for actually being, because that's a huge example for others in any field that they're in, because I talk to people in many fields who have gone through things like that, and to see your resilience is a wonderful example to others. And I really want to thank you for that, Maria. I think that's one of the most fascinating things about you, is that you were able to recover from a terrible, you like I said, you had everything against your team. And I'm sorry you went through that, but it's nice to see that you have come out of that, and I'm sure that you've learned a lot from it.
Absolutely. It was quite an experience. I want to say that it was a good experience, but it wasn't.
No,
But I
no.
have learned, in my view, at the world, it was different. It's different now, but it doesn't take away from me believing in people, and there's a lot of good people out there, and we have to keep going, because one of the things that got me into this field is that I noticed that some of the people don't get proper defense, or their rights are violated. And I am happy to work for the defense, because I have worked for the prosecutor's office, and it wasn't for me.
Right. I think that's so wonderful that you've learned that about yourself. I think it's fantastic. It seems like the whole experience has made you even more committed to what you do and to achieving justice in this world. And you're a very strong person, Maria, and it's an absolute honor to speak with somebody like you, and to have you broadcast on my podcast. You're a real inspiration to a lot of people. No, thank you so much. And thank you for the messages to keep going. Thanks for what you do and the information that you bring to the world, because for people who don't have the perspective that you do, you're someone that you can learn so much from. You're just such an intelligent person. So it's so nice to be able to, for people to be able to learn from someone like you who may have a different perspective than them. And as I said, I'm going to say a proper goodbye to you after we finish recording here, but thank you very much for sharing what you did. Thank you for educating us Canadians a little bit, and I'm sure Americans who their states don't have the death penalty as well. And I can't thank you enough for your time, Maria. And just before I close off here, is there anything, what are you doing these days? Are you busy with these tons of cases, and what do you have coming up for yourself?
Yes, actually, I have a trial starting in 2 weeks. And then I have another trial coming up in January. And I have a post-conviction relief that is about to close in July. And I have some other cases that are not death penalty that I'm closing up to. So I'm keeping really busy.
For you.
And yes, and I have to do some traveling for work and just hoping that our cases get resolved and that we get a life sentence. That's what we're working towards. So we just keep up, but we keep the work up and the faith, and hopefully we can get it done.
That sounds amazing. And thank you so much again, Maria, for taking the time to speak with me today. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Thank you for having me, and anytime.